Everyone, this is Dr. Catherine Kelly, and I want to throw out an idea to you that I think is going to kind of influence you in a positive way and help you understand at a deeper level what healing needs to take place in order for us to feel whole. So, several years ago, a concept called trauma-informed care came on the scene in psychology and in educational fields. Basically, what it is that, educators and practitioners started to understand that we have to conceptualize learning and healing from a whole different level when we take into consideration that trauma has probably been involved for that person. Because people do react differently. People have different ways of coping. They have different mindsets. They have very different reactions in a kind of a visceral kind of way. And so, really, again, like 15, 20 years ago, that term came on the scene. What I started to realize is that we also have to take into consideration the soul when we think about healing and education and how we learn, how we cope, how we function in the human condition. And so I coined the term soul informed care to really help people understand this. Now, I'm going to show you a model that I created, and I'm going to explain what all of this is over here. But when you think about trauma informed care, it laces us with everything. When you think about soul informed care, it absolutely laces us with everything, including trauma, including past life lessons, including this life lessons, including any aspect of our existence that we've experienced and how it is that seasons us or weaves into who we are. So not only is trauma an important thing to take into consideration, but really the whole soul in our experience is very important to take into consideration. Now, on this model, I have a mini version of what I'm calling the whole soul model. I'm going to show this to you because it's going to start to make sense. So many of you know that the upper part of this tree was created years ago, about 18 years ago, and I called it the SoulHealth model. And it has 10 branches of the human condition that everybody, as far as I know, on this planet, all 8.5 billion people, 8.6 billion people actually have to balance or have to figure out according to, what's going on in their lives, what's happening in their phase of development, any of that. It is seasoning who you are. And when we feel misaligned, when something does not feel right within us, it means that one of those 10 branches or more of those 10 branches are misaligned or disrupted or wounded or broken or whatever. And so that model, I've used that model for years. But what I did was I extended the model recently to help people understand additional layers that are part of this human condition, which is really depicted with all of these different symbols, as well as expanding it to understand the soul aspect of who we are and how multiple different things could be playing a part in who we are as an individual. Now, again, this is not stuff we're taught in school. This is not stuff that traditional practitioners learn. You really have to go to some of the soul-based information in order to understand it. However, what I have found, and which is why I created this model, is that you don't find it all in one place. You generally find bits and pieces of information. Astrology has been around for thousands of years. It is one of the aspects that plays a part in our soul. We all think about life lessons and wow, this is just something I've had to learn over and over again. Well, that is part of the soul condition. Okay, our soul is laced or programmed with these life lessons that we are here, excuse me, to evolve beyond. And so that is part of the soul aspect and the soul condition as well. When we don't take into consideration aspects or factors of the soul, we are leaving out a huge part of who we are. And it is time basically for us to expand that view and expand that notion of how much the soul influences who we are, because we are in a place where we are hitting roadblocks with traditional treatment. We're hitting roadblocks with traditional education. And so we have to get deeper into this aspect of understanding how the body, mind, and soul are connected, but that the body and the mind are the smallest aspects of who we are. And we've got to expand that out to include the soul in order to really reach that layer of what I call alignment. We have to take into consideration all of the layers of who we are in order to feel aligned and feel well. And so I'm going to show you this model again. The soul-informed care model has all to do with understanding that, the body is the smallest aspect, basically, of who we are, and yet it's the biggest aspect of where treatment tends to go. The mind is a bigger aspect than the body, but that it is still much smaller than all of the aspects of who we are as a soul. So basically, soul-informed care is here to help illuminate and help educate about the fact that you have to take into consideration all of these aspects of who we are in order to really experience whole health. Now, if you look up here, you will realize that the body is connected to only a few of the aspects of health. So basically, it's the physical branch of the human condition. So it's basically that branch down there. Um, Genetic impact, so how we are genetically built, our phase of life or stage of life, and our bioenergetic field are the only four aspects of this entire model and system that contribute to the body. So when you think about that, that is the smallest aspect of who we are, but we put the most attention to it because that is the most visible, the most tangible, the most material aspect of who we are. When you think about the mind, which is a bigger aspect than the body, then it takes into consideration, okay, how do we think about each one of these trees or branches on the tree? How do we function? How do we cope? How do we perceive these branches? So the physical, the psychological, the social, the interpersonal, the intellectual, the environmental, the financial, the spiritual, the recreational, and the sexual. So how do we as humans conceptualize each one of those branches? Well, the mind does conceptualize those branches, but basically it only goes that far. So, we realize when you look at an image, it helps you see what's missing. And so this whole aspect of who we are is really what I'm talking about, that we need to look into the whole idea of soul-informed care, that there are deeper aspects or factors of who we are that are constantly playing a role in how we see the world, how we cope in the world, how we function in the world, how we behave in the world. But until we illuminate these for people, they're going to be falling short in how they get past many of the challenges of the human condition. So when we look back at all of these different aspects, there are 16 additional aspects that I've added to this model to help people understand that there's much more than meets the eye. And so I'm just going to read many of them off. So we have life lessons, life purpose, gender heritage, soul age, which is a whole new concept for a lot of people, although it plays such an immense part in how we cope and how we see the world, how we get past challenges. Planetary influences, astrological personality, things like soul injury, some of the wounds that we have accumulated in this lifetime and previous lifetimes, and how those are playing out or affecting us in this lifetime. Ancestral suffering, that is a big term these days, and how we are carrying forward individually the essence of the wounds or the suffering that have happened in our lineage in past. Soul composition, starseed history, our soul matrix, soul mastery and integration, how advanced we are in those concepts and understanding those concepts has all to do with how well we feel. And this is why it is so important to start taking into consideration what I call soul-informed care, because there is a lot that's being missed in our health world and our mental health world. And basically, it's just really important for us to start attending to the whole aspects of who we are, because we're leaving out some major, major aspects. So soul-informed care has all to do with the body, our entire body, our mind, every aspect, but then our whole being, our soul, every aspect of who we are. And when we leave out different aspects from conceptualizing how to heal or how to treat people, treatment by practitioners, or also how we educate others, if we are not taking that into consideration, we are really missing a major boat. And so that's why this information is going to be coming out more and more and more. And there will be more videos. I'm going to be, doing a video series on all of these things to help people really understand the soul in a much bigger and more expanded way, so that you can pick up on and see how it is affecting or influencing your own life. So again, soul-informed care, I think this is a concept that will, take a while for people to understand because it really is the biggest part of us, but it's not something that we are taught. And so to me, it is just so important to bring that back to light. So I hope you have a wonderful day, something to chew on. I would love to hear your thoughts about this. And I hope you, follow up and listen more to a lot of the information that will be coming out about both soul-informed care, the 3 levels of healing, which obviously impact our soul, and basically the whole soul model. So have a wonderful day. We'll talk soon.